These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
We are back with another How About Them Celtics video. Sam and I are here on Thursday, July 27th. And it's the offseason. It's like I said, it's July 27th.
Sure
There's not
is.
much going on. But as is always the case with the Celtics, there are trade rumors, there are trade rumblings, there are trade speculation, I should say. And the
That's how it
latest of
goes.
which the latest of which comes from the Inside the Thunder staff, which is Sports Illustrated Thunder's page. It is a Payton Pritchard trade. Payton Pritchard, who everyone assumed wouldn't be on the team next season. At the beginning of the offseason, the general consensus was, okay, Payton Pritchard's not going to be here.
The
Team
Athletic
Magic Johnson.
tell-all said that he wanted to trade.
Exactly. But then go through the summer, Brogdon almost gets traded, then Marcus Smart does get traded, and now it's sort of like, is Pritchard going to find the minutes? By all accounts, the Celtics want to keep Malcolm Brogdon, and Derek White has already been named the starter. If you're Payton Pritchard, do you want to leave? Are you willing to accept the third string point guard role instead of the fourth string? Or would you say, nope, please just still get me to a place where I can play 20 plus minutes a night? Because he's probably not going to get that in Boston again next year, even though I do think he'll play more.
I think it's a very tough spot from the Celtics point of view because, yes, you could probably get value back for Payton Pritchard, but at the same time, do you really want to gamble giving up this guy now in, let's just say, July, August, when there's a chance that Brogdon isn't ready when the season starts, if he's really dealing with this injury that people seem to think is lingering, or if he's upset and, doesn't like the organization anymore because they tried to trade him, which Missoula came out yesterday. We talked about it and said they're in a healing process with that. So if you're the Celtics, it's very difficult to grasp, hey, we should give up Pritchard for this, when you very well could need Pritchard this season because you don't know what's going on with your other guards, specifically Brogdon. So if you're Pritchard, you may know more about what's going on with Brogdon than we do.
Yeah.
And if you know it's trending poorly, then you feel better about staying because you know you're going to get some playing time. And he's probably going to get some playing time anyway. But how consistent is it going to be? It's really going to rely on injuries. Pritchard is a guy from a Celtics point of view as well. And, we'll talk about this a bit more later. That's proven he can do it.
Definitely. I mean, he played real minutes the first 2 seasons of his career, and then he got kind of, pushed aside when Malcolm Brogdon got added to the team, which makes sense because Malcolm Brogdon's a better player. He just won 6 Man of the Year, so it is what it is. But Inside the Thunder posted a mock trade, obviously Celtics Thunder mock trade, and the extent of the deal was OKC gets Payton Pritchard, a top 5 protected Celtics first rounder, and an unprotected second rounder via the Hawks, which is from the Celtics. The Celtics get Kenrich Williams and Aaron Wiggins. OKC fixes a little bit of their roster crunch, and Boston gets 2 wings in exchange for Pritchard, a first round pick and a second round pick. I know you wrote about this for Hardwood Houdini. I haven't read your thoughts.
Oh.
I don't hate it. I think it's fine.
And my page views will go die.
Right. I think the concern, obviously, that leaps off the page is you're a little thin at the point guard at that point. You have 2 point guards and Delano Banton. And if you're comfortable with Delano Banton being that third option, because realistically, you probably don't need a third point guard as much when you play through the Jays as much as the Celtics do. But it does leave you thin at the point guard spot. At the same time, it does improve your forward depth. Kenrich Williams is a solid forward. Aaron Wiggins is an intriguing young wing. I think the Celtics are lacking a little bit at the wing position. Obviously, they have decent forward depth versus what they had at the start of the summer. Sam Hauser, O'Shea Brissett, and Jordan Walsh. Meanwhile, they have Delano Banton at the point guard, but how many of those guys are comfortable playing up or down, if you're talking Banton or Hauser, to the wing position? This helps that a little bit. And I don't even hate the first round pick is whatever to me, because I think Kenrich Williams is a good player. But the biggest thing for me is how much do you need a Kenrich Williams versus needing a big man per se? Maybe you want a fourth center, or maybe you want, if you're trading Pritchard, you'd rather have a guard. But I don't hate the idea of adding another wing. I don't hate this trade. It's just kind of whatever to me.
So both of these guys Boston gets back from OKC are efficient players. That's number one. And first and foremost for me is always very important regardless of their role. But considering that they would be taking on a smaller role with the Celtics, if any role at all, because Boston just decided they wanted to bring in a bunch of wings this summer.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that they would even play.
So
you could be giving up Pritchard, who, again, may have to take on a real role with this team, depending on what happens with Brogdon, or just barring any injuries throughout the season.
I think Kenrich Williams would definitely play in the Celtics rotation.
I don't know. He might. Then you just wasted a spot on O'Shea Brissett.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's a bit useless because he would play over like Banton and Brissett and probably compete with minutes with Hauser and Walsh. Probably a little better with them than right now, at least offensively. He's much better on defense than Hauser.
Yep.
And he's much
He's
better.
efficient. He shot like 37-4 from 3. Like, he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fine player. It's not me like trashing these guys. The problem
It's
just comes from
redundant.
a necessity standpoint. Again, it's
redundant,
like you say. Pritchard is more of a need, as odd as it sounds, just because of the uncertainty with the point guard spot. You like the idea of bringing another big, so that's also a possibility. Aaron Wiggins, again, also efficient, 50+% from the field, 39% from 3, not bad. And you're getting okay quality talent back, but you're giving up Pritchard, and you're giving up draft picks with the new CBA coming in to hogtie you after you just paid Brown $304 million. You're going to pay Tatum another $300+ million next year with his extension.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to make a ton of moves, and draft picks are going to become your best friend down the line. So you need these picks. It's not to say that the Celtics are going to be trash in 2025 and this draft pick will become super valuable to the Thunder. It won't. And it's not going to be like the Celtics lost a trade because this pick didn't convey to them or whatever. And
you just want to utilize it correctly.
You need it. This is how you get cheap talent, is through the draft now. This is a big building block for years to come. Might be more valuable than Pritchard is right now.
I agree, and this was one Pritchard trade. We're going to float a few of our own just to come up with some other ideas. I think the Thunder as a trade partner makes a lot of sense. If I'm the Celtics, I would push for the exact same package, but instead of Aaron Wiggins, I say give me Jeremiah Robinson-Earl instead, because I truly think that fits a much bigger need for the Celtics. You can add in the picks as well. They don't have a fourth string big outside of Luke Cornett. I think Jeremiah Robinson-Earl would be an upgrade over Cornett to run some small ball center minutes behind Al Horford and Rob and Kristaps Porzingis. And I think that makes the trade worth it because you are legitimately filling a need on a guy on a cheap contract who's still young, like Aaron Wiggins, but plays a position that you could utilize more effectively.
Makes sense, especially with your infatuation with that fourth string big, which kind of makes sense.
It's like, I don't think the Celtics necessarily... They don't necessarily need anything right now, but if you're going to fill a hole, I think that's pretty clearly the most glaring one, especially considering none of your 3-star big men are like guaranteed to play the whole season. Rob and Kristaps have an injury history, and Al Horford's 36 or going to be however old.
See, I think you take on a bigger risk with the point guard spot than the big man spot with this. You know, even if you take the default trade, right, where you're getting Wiggins back and Kenrich Williams, you're not bringing a big that way. You're still having that fourth string hole, and then you don't have a backup to the backup. At the point
so let me fix both of our problems here, Sam. Sorry, Kenrich Williams. Goodbye. Enter Trey Mann. Thoughts?
Don't they not want to give up Trey Mann, or is that the Clippers not wanting to give up Terrence Mann?
You're thinking Terrence Mann, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at that. I'm aware that there's 2 of those guys in the NBA. So.
Terrence Mann was not efficient last season, but this would give you some extra depth at the point guard for losing Pritchard.
He had a good summer league, right?
He played well in summer league, yeah. Well enough. I just think
it's not the worst thing. It's fine.
The other team I think could be worth hitting up is another team who, after signing, Sidi Sadoko today, the Spurs need to cut some players. They got to get rid of some players. They have too many guys in the roster. So looking at it, who do you want to pull from the Spurs? I think Charles Bassey could be somebody, because I don't know how much they want him, mainly because like they have some big men that just re-signed Mamu Kelashvili.
Did not know Gorgie Dang is still in the league.
He got waived. He's no longer on.
Okay,
the Spurs
all right.
But they like him from what I've seen on Twitter and from what I've heard. So he might be. He might be. I think he's like a Blake Griffin guy. Like if they have a spot for him, he'll be there, and if not, he won't. So like if you could pull off a Charles Bassey and like, you'd get strapped for money with like a Chetty Osman or whatever you want to say. Like the issue with the Spurs is they don't have many small enough contracts like the Thunder do. So like if you do a Pritchard for these two, you'd have to make up an extra however many millions. So like it would involve a Cornette, and at that point you're in the same position with the big man spot, and even that doesn't work. So it gets a little tricky there. Like you could do Pritchard for just campaign or just Chetty Osman, but at that point, like how worth it is it for Pritchard if you're giving like it just seems kind of useless at that
A
point.
lot of these are pretty useless swaps. I mean, I'm sure you got something else cooking up too, but
Yeah, we got some.
it doesn't feel like any of these make you significantly better. The package that the Sports Illustrated page proposed isn't the worst thing. I just don't love giving up the picks in that scenario, but I do understand like Kenrich Williams has been a guy who's played a decent role with OKC. Like they're not going to give him up for free. And how much of a need do they have for Pritchard? But I don't know. I don't love it. There's no point to give up a bunch of stuff in what feels like a lateral move.
So I think this would largely depend on your viewpoint of point guard versus big man position. Like Precious Achiuwa for Payton Pritchard. I don't think this makes sense for the Celtics, but if Payton Pritchard says, I want to be traded still, then maybe you look at something like this because it does fill a potential need, but it does leave you with a larger hole at the point guard spot as a third string. But Banton is there, so maybe you rationalize a little, but I don't hate this if it comes down to it, if you have to, you know.
I think Achiuwa is fine. I'm just not like he's not going to play. He's really not going to see a ton of time.
Not every night, but you can't think of things in the context of a playoff rotation only. Because like nobody the Celtics trade for now are going to play in the playoffs. Payton Pritchard's probably not going to play in the playoffs, but you need guys to play during the regular season. You need guys to fill the roles and to fill the gaps during the regular season. Like I feel like it gets lost how much like role players play in the regular season. Luke Cornett played in 69 games this past season.
Cornett was effective.
You know what I'm saying?
He was legitimately solid in the minutes he got in the regular season
and so
in most games. He had a few that he was bad.
My point is, if Luke Cornett's going to play, then saying Precious Achiuwa wouldn't play doesn't make sense.
Okay, but I know you said it with this trade, but he's not going to play more than Pritchard's going to play. I just don't think that's true.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. I think this leaves you too thin at the point guard spot, but I'm saying if Pritchard were to like say, I still want out, this could be an option. Another one along that vein is, I don't know how much the Hawks want point guard depth.
They definitely don't need it. That's one team that does not need any more.
But the Sadiq Bey angle, which we know, which we know the Celtics have been poking around, does make a, wow, I'm dying, a little sense. I wouldn't mind Bey, but again, you get redundant at the wing forward position. That's pretty much all I had. I had Ricky Rubio on here too, but
Ricky Rubio.
Pretty.
I don't hate that actually.
No, he's.
I know he's coming off of like ACL problems and he's not as good, but he was effective the last time he played, which is a statement that isn't always the best thing to rely on. But
he is long washed. He shot 34%, 34-26 splits last season. He is no bueno, but just some Pritchard ideas. It's the same ones you're going to hear for the majority of the summer, unless he is packaged in a larger trade. And if that's the case, he's probably going out with larger salary. And if he's going out with larger salary, Celtics are making a much bigger move than this. But thank y'all for watching. Thanks for tuning in to How About Them Celtics. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll let Sam get it over with.
Hey, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Join over 1,000 others. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any daily uploads or any breaking pods we have to drop for you. If you want the full-length ones, they are on YouTube as well as Spotify and Apple. You can follow us there. Leave a 5-star review. Say some nice things about the fellas there. On social media, we're at How About Them C's on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook is just the name of the podcast. You can find any live stream there as well as YouTube. You can follow Jack on Twitter at JackSimoneNBA. You can follow me on Twitter at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us.
Tic-tac-toe.